Hello and welcome to the penultimate round of Tier 4 in the Delta Motor Racing Leagues. The championship is what will be on all the drivers' minds this evening. Furyian could win it all. He has 31 points over the next driver, and there's only 52 left on the table. McLaren could also claim the Constructors' title here. They have a 42-point advantage over Ferrari. If that gap doesn't come down, then McLaren will be crowned the Constructors' winners. And where better for such a crucial race than Silverstone? This historic venue hosted the very first Formula One race back in 1950. Since then, its layout has undergone many changes, but the iconic corner names like Maggots, Beckett's, Stowe, and Luffield still remain. The drivers are flat out for 70% of the lap, and that's a whole 4.1 kilometers with your foot to the floor. As far as overtaking is concerned, there's plenty of opportunities in the loop and at the end of both the Hangar and Wellington straights. My name is Tom Davis, and as ever, I'm joined by the wonderful, wonderful Edvin. How are you doing?
Hello everyone, I'm doing great. The session hasn't quite started yet, but we should be in quite soon.
Yeah, and Furyian's won the last 3 races on the bounce, which is a very, very impressive
For some
resume,
reason,
if you will.
it seems like last race was yesterday. I don't know, I just remember Furyian winning. But I don't know, he's doing that quite a lot, so I don't know.
Yeah, he has been doing it a lot, and you'd have to say that he's favourite to take the title here. As we said, he's got a 31-point advantage over ITAX, and ITAX is crucially a reserve driver. So if nobody can get that advantage down, i.e. if Furyian doesn't make a mistake, then he'll become the champion.
We usually only see Furyian make mistakes during wet sessions, but it definitely could still happen. It's just not very likely.
Yeah, the UK is one of those places renowned for its rain if you're not from here. So if you were going to bet on rain, you would bet on it here. But of course, even then, he doesn't actually have to push that hard. You look to the first non-reserve driver, and it's Cosmin driving for Mercedes. And Cosmin's 40 points back, meaning that 15 points would have to be closed on Furyian this time around, which is going to be really difficult.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the penultimate race, so it doesn't really have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to gaining those points.
Yeah, it's certainly all up against the rest of the field. In theory, you could also look towards Danny Lanfear, Charles Non-Crash, Lord P the Viber, and Davy Lee TV. They're all still technically in contention for the title, so don't count them out. We've seen crazier things happen, but it's definitely Furyian's to lose with the chance for Cosmin to gain, is how I would describe it.
The question is when it starts.
Yeah, and with regard to the track, how are you feeling, Silverstone?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I raced in a different league this last Saturday. Furyian was in the same race, and he lapped everyone. So obviously lower tier league, the drivers weren't as skilled as in this league, but still he definitely knows how to drive on this track. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. This is like one of the best tracks for sure.
What would you say is your favorite section at Silverstone? What's your favorite complex?
The first sector for sure. I like the first corner because you have to go flat out and then immediately brake for a hairpin.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the highlights of the lap, I would say. Obviously Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel, that section's got all of the fame. It's incredibly quick, and many corners and tracks since have been based off of it. But I've got to be honest, turn 15, a little bit after it, Stowe Corner, that's got to be my favorite. You come uphill at the last moment, you kind of ascend this blind crest. It just keeps on coming round. Like, you can floor it so early because the track opens up and becomes really wide. It's a tricky one to overtake at, that's for sure, but it's doable. The problem is if you go down the inside there's a chance they just run it round the outside and then have the inside for the Vale chicane. Like, it opens up a lot of different lines. There's no one racing line into Stowe.
I can confirm as well. We are in fact gonna start qualifying in just a few seconds here, so that's great. And to me right now it looks like there won't be any rain, but it's a bit too early to tell. You never know what's gonna happen, especially not in the race.
Yeah, of course, and it could rain part of the way through qualifying as well. The no assists tier had that happen to them, and it certainly throws different tactics into the mix. You know, you're suddenly forced to put in a lap straight away, and it needs to be a good one. You can't play I'll put in a banker and then get quicker on my second run and quicker again on my third. You just need to do it immediately if that's the case. So we'll wait and
definitely
see how it all plays out. It's also going to be interesting to see strategy here because there's a lot of variation in what you could do. Starting on the mediums, we've seen some of the guys like Bloth and Handy in particular have been a fan of starting on the medium tire, and that's definitely viable here. The other option is actually you could run the hards from the start and go really long and then put in a quick final stint, because you do have to manage the tires around here. You can't absolutely floor it through Maggotts, Beckett's, Chapel every time without having some consequences on your tire.
Yeah, and I believe both Handicap and Bluff will be in the session here, and they will probably go for the mediums.
Yeah, you'd expect so. That's what their track record says, to say the least. They're one to try and win the race through strategy as opposed to through straight out speed, potentially, are the Toro Rosso team. But credit to them, recently they've been climbing their way up the constructors a little bit, and it's been working. Picked up a second place in Russia as a result of it. So if they hadn't been unfortunate a little bit with guys crashing out in the previous two races, they would be right up there.
Yeah, I seem to have some issues here with the game capture. I don't really know what that's all about, but if I can get it to work here, we should be able to see quite soon. I do not know why it's not working.
Yeah, of course. We'll see
It
if
just
we can.
refuses to sometimes.
We'll see if we can fix that for you guys, or if it sorts itself out. But as it stands, Furyian, the guy who's looking to win the championship, is on an outlap, and it's a long outlap here. It's definitely a tricky one. The lap itself is 5.9 kilometers. That's 3.7 miles if you still do imperial units, and it throws up a dynamic whereby you can warm the tires up far more gently and gradually than you can at a track like, say, Austria, where the lap is much shorter and you have to really aggressively put the heat in the tires. And the tires will like that, because remember, if you start in the top 10, these are the tires you'll be using come the race. So if you can just prevent that little bit more wear, you might be able to eke out one more lap come the stint, and that could be crucial for your race strategy.
Yeah, do you think that the hards will be viable this time?
The hards are definitely an option. We got Mozzarella, Handicap out there on the hards right now. Notably, Handicap's teammate Bloth going out on a set of softs, I believe. So that will be interesting. But Furyian comes around to start his lap. He'll descend in towards Abbey. That's turn number 1. And then round farm curve for turn 2. Brake nice and calm about 70 meters before the corner for turn 3. Then you come through turn 4. This is the loop that was added for 2010, and actually to allow MotoGP bikes to come around here. You got to watch. There's not much traction as you come through Aintree, and now you go flat out, DRS wide open down the Wellington Straight, which was formerly, of course, the track was an airfield, and that was where Wellington bombers took off during World War II, hence the name. This is Luffield. You got to try make a V sort of line there so you can get a straight line on exit. Make sure that you get the power down really, really quickly, because you're flat out all the way towards turn 8, Woodcut, a slight lift, and then you're flat out again. Use all the road, but crucially don't go too far, because the runoff is tempting, but it will invalidate your lap. Now you come through Maggotts, through turn 11, then round Beckett's, and this one's the hardest one. It just feels like it goes on forever, and you want to get on the power really early, but you can't afford to drift too wide as Furyian goes purple in the second sector. This is the Hangar Straight, and again, this is a DRS zone, and this is Stowe Corner I was talking about. You can't see where it goes, you still can't see, and then it begins to reveal itself all the way out on exit. Use all the curb, because it's a really flat curb here at Silverstone at most of the corners. This is Vale, then you've got to get the power down nice and smooth. Make sure you don't spin up the wheels through Club, and this will complete the lap, and it's a very, very good time from Furyian on that soft tower. He does a 27.1, and Davey Lee TV comes across the line next and does a 38.5. So obviously he might not be lapping quickly, but a 27.1 is very, very quick.
And Handicap as well, as we talked about, he will choose the hard tires, and he goes about 4 seconds slower than Furyian, and Charles Leclerc on the mediums goes about only 1 second slower than Furyian, so the hard seems to be a lot slower than the softs.
Yeah, 4 seconds would imply a mistake on that lap from Handy, to be sure. You'd expect a drop off from the hards, but we've just seen Mozzarella pop up. He's also on the hard tires doing a 29.9, which is maybe a bit more realistic. I think a 31.3 will definitely have an error on it.
Nah, yeah, I think he's going for a second lap here, handicap, because you know it takes a while to warm up the hard tires.
Yeah, we've seen this from him before. Actually, you can afford to do a couple laps on the hard tire, and it doesn't compromise your race strategy because that hard tire just doesn't go off for a long time. Now, obviously, come the race, you do in fact need to change tires. There is a rule that makes you have to run 2 different tire compounds. But in theory, you could just take the hard tire to the end if you wanted to. So it gives you that ability to push at maximum effort and attack all the time.
Oh, and he spins, and he's actually out. Oh wow. You hate to see it.
Yeah, big spin on the exit of that Maggots Beckett's Chapel complex, and it's not ideal, exactly. He's, in theory, set a lap, but a 31.5 will not put him anywhere near the front of the grid, and you'd almost anticipate him putting him dead last.
Yeah, that's gotta suck. Because I think the reason he had such a slow lap was because he did 2 out laps. But now his second out lap becomes his fast lap because of that. But his teammate then is on I believe a fast lap here. Or an out lap, I'm not entirely sure. But he is also on the hard tires, so I don't think it matters really. But they seem to struggle a lot though.
Very much on a fast lap. I think he was purple in sector 1, but exit of Luffield, turn 7, got it wrong and oversteered himself onto the grass.
Yeah, the hard tires, I feel like you're gonna need some slow laps to warm them up if you're actually trying something, because when you push so hard on such cold tires, you are almost bound to spin out.
Yeah, but if that purple sector that I think I saw is in fact true, then it shows promise. You know, it's not impossible. If you can go purple in the first sector, you can afford to be a little bit down through that fast-flowing second half of the lap and still put in a competitive time. So that'll be what Bloth will be looking to do. He'll come through Club Corner as he accelerates towards the line, and this is definitely like another attempt at a fast lap. How is he going to be through Abbey? Of course, it's really tricky, and in fact, I think he had to lift just a little bit through there on that hard tire. You bring it across to the left-hand side of the track, braking, and he was very, very strong on the brakes there. It was later on the brakes than we saw Furyian on the soft tire, so that's very impressive from Bloth. His traction out of that loop is very, very good, and you'll get a little bit of a tow from Furyian up ahead down the Wellington straight. That'll definitely help him out, and Bloth and Furyian, they are good mates, they are friends, and he's just going to invalidate the lap there, creeped over the curve at turn 6, and that's game over for Bloth. He'll have to come round and potentially do another tire heating lap.
I must say though, I believe that purple sector 1 thing is a glitch, because as I said, last time I raced with Furyian, we raced on Silverstone and I was going very slow because I believe it rained and I was still getting purple sector, so I believe that is a glitch in the first sector.
Fair enough, so we'll keep an eye out for that, make sure that we don't give you any misleading information. Thank you, Edvin. And yeah, it's interesting to see all the different tactics here, isn't it? You've got a couple medium runners, a couple hard runners.
Bogdan here is the closest runner right now to Furyian. He's about almost a second actually off his pace still, but he's going for a second lap here, and so is Furyian and Charles Leclerc. So the top 3 want to improve their times here, and rightfully so. Yeah,
Bog has got 8 tenths to find if he wants to match up with Furyian, but very, very cleverly from the Alpha driver, he's put himself just about within a distant tow of Charles.
Look at Danny Lanford though, that's a good time.
It's a quick lap from Danny, he pops up just 2.5 tenths off of Furyian. And Charles has realised this. We were just saying, Bogdan was about to pick up a distant tow from Charles without really affecting his downforce where it matters. And Charles noticed this, and now Charles has dropped back to give himself a distant tow from Bogdan down the straight. So a little bit of gamesmanship happening here. As both Ioan... Oh, I'm going to get this wrong all evening. Ionides pops up into 3rd position. So that's currently Williams in P2 and 3. And then Ward P the Viper into 4th. And Viper, he's still in that championship fight. He's got 24 points, which is obviously a long way off. And puts him right on the cusp of being able to compete for the championship. But around him, he's got Davey Lee also on 24. He's got Charles on 25. Danny's on 30. It's not impossible that he could still nick a second or third in this championship for Viber.
We gotta say, Lord P. the Viber, he started off slow. I know David Levy TV will go even faster than Daniel Unfair, so people are slowly catching up to Furyian here, but not quite. They're not quite quick enough. Lord P. the Viber, anyway, he has been very quick over the last few races, even though he started off the season quite slow.
Furyian didn't like people getting close to his time.
Yeah, no.
And improved it by about 0.4 of a second, which is going to be somewhat demoralizing for the rest of the guys. But Bogdan's lap looking relatively solid just now. He's very clean through Luffield. He gets very, very good drive onto the old pitch straight as you come down in towards Woodcote. How's his line through here? It's very nice. He might drift a little bit wide, but he gets away with it. Brings it across to the right-hand side of the track. You've got to come through. There's Maggots. And you've got to bring it all the way around on Beckett's to give you the best possible line through this long right-hander at 13. Get the DRS open before you're even away from Chapel. He temporarily went purple in that sector, I believe. So he's looking to improve as he rounds Stowe Corner. That was, again, very, very clean there from Bogdan. He's currently up on his split time as he comes through the final couple of corners. That was tidy, if not flamboyant, through Vale. Club was also clean, and it puts him up P2.
If Furyian wouldn't have improved his time, he would have beaten it right then and there, but as you saw, Furyian improved with 0.4, so P2 at least. Not bad, not bad.
And that toe...
Oh, Charles Leclerc, look at that!
The thing goes about 0.2 quicker than Bog, so...
They're so close, but they're not quite there. Will they have time for another lap? I believe they will, and I believe they will try for it. So will Furyian probably as well, though, because Charles is dangerously close right now.
Yeah, they should do, and the big disappointment for all this is, I've got to say, it's Lord P the Viber. He was second last time out in Canada, picked up a huge haul of points, now he's P8. So he'll be looking to improve to somewhere near his teammate, because he is tied on points in the championship with his teammate, and currently, Davey Lee's P4 and Viber is 8th. So that doesn't bode well for his ending of this championship.
Yeah, definitely not, but I mean, so far I don't really think there's too much action happening on the track. I feel like most people are heading into the pits there to go out in about a minute or so for their last and final lap.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because obviously you don't want to get caught up in dirty air like we mentioned, because it can really penalise you around here, because so many of the corners are just about reliant on downforce that if you're close to another car, you will lose a considerable amount of time. At the same time, simultaneously though, you do want to be close enough to somebody to get a toe down the straights, because you've got the long straight between turns 15 and 16, where you could do with a toe. The same can be said on that old pit straight between 8 and 9. And of course down the pit straight itself, these are all pretty long straights that are not DRS zones, so that toe can be so important.
And Bloth actually is gonna go for a fast lap right there. The hard runner from earlier on together with his teammate, which didn't quite work out for them.
Yeah, and Bloth was the last guy holding on to that time on the hard tyre. Now he's out on the soft tyre, and we'll see what he can do. It was a little bit messy
wide
through turn 3.
Maybe a bit afraid of that curb right there, because if you hit that curb you are almost guaranteed to spin out.
Yeah, of course, you need to be careful, but 1.2 seconds up on where he was on the hards through sector 1. So if
I mean, it makes sense though.
Keep doing that, then he will be right up there. It's very, very clean through Luffield. He was gentle on the power, but he started bringing in the throttle very, very early in the corner, so that'll give him plenty of speed as he curves through Copse and heads up towards Maggots. This is really, really important about the lap. It's so easy to lose time here, but you can't gain much, so you just need to get it right and make sure that you don't lose the time. And Bloth, he'll have lost a couple tenths there. He was wide coming out of turn 13. We mentioned it earlier.
5 seconds though.
It's so easy to get on the power early, and that's what he tried to do, and it just cost him a little bit as he ran deep, and then so deep through Stowe, but he's just about going to get away with it. Nice and clean on the brakes for Vale, however. He gets it slowed down. A little bit of a take of the curb on the inside. Runs it over the sausage curb at Club 2, and that puts him P6. So it's a lot better than P16 where he was before, but you would hope to be a little bit higher up.
Yeah, I wonder if he's gonna have time for another lap, and I don't believe he will. It depends on how fast his outlap and inlap is. Speaking of outlaps, the top 4 is out on outlaps right now. Who do you think we should watch here?
I think Davy Lee is the guy with not much to lose. For me, Bogdan's the one who's got to improve here.
Yeah.
Position 3 on the grid is such an awkward place to be because you're not on the front row, but you're also not further back in the pack where you can get a good tow. You're kind of awkwardly jammed in the middle where you've got to avoid the guys in front and then hope that you don't get punted from behind. Whereas if you're further back or further forward, you only have one of those things to worry about.
Yeah, Bogdan has been setting the P2 time twice, and both times he's immediately been beaten by Charles Leclerc, so he's obviously gonna try to change that right now.
Yeah, and he's leading a little bit of a train here. You've got himself, and then you've got Furyian right behind him on track. And then just at Stowe Corner, you've got Charles. Now, Charles was hoping to get that double toe from Bogdan and Furyian. He then had to get out of the way of a couple guys on flying laps. So it's not worked out for Charles. And Bog is going to hope that he's just got enough clean track to improve on his time. He's really, really brave and confident on the brakes into turn 3. This is turn 4, and he's nice there. As you mentioned, you don't want to take too much curb. There's no traction out here. So you just got to avoid the rear end coming round and giving a high five to the front. You got decent traction onto the Wellington straight, and he's just about, and I say just about, up on his time through Sector 1. He was about 0.03 of a second quicker in the first part of the lap. It's a very, very nice line through Luffield on the power so incredibly early, and then minimises the distance down the old pit straight. And of course, that's where the MotoGP bikes start, despite using the whole track. So a little bit of interesting trivia for you there. Here is Maggots. Flat out, still flat. A little bit of a lift through Beckett's and then brake down into turn 13 and round for Chapel. That's exactly what Bloth was trying to do just one lap ago. Comes up now, the Wellington straight. Where is he going to brake? How brave is he? And he's so brave. He was almost at the 50-meter board there as opposed to the 100. But he got it absolutely perfect, and he's looking very, very good through the first 2 sectors. This is the Vale chicane, and he keeps the car stable, yet takes so much curb on entry, which is truly, truly remarkable. What's it going to be for Bogdan? He improves, but only by 0.03 of a second.
I mean, an improvement is an improvement, but this one most certainly did nothing at all.
Yeah, Furyian crossed the line, having invalidated his lap earlier, and Charles also invalidates his lap and enters the pits. So that looks to be your top 3, unless Davy Lee TV has anything to say about it. I don't believe he does.
No, into the gravel he goes.
I was about to say, I think he's on a slow lap, but that confirms it. Whether he was meant to be on a slow lap or not, he ended up in the gravel from Luffield, so that would put pay to anything he was hoping to do.
Wait, no wait, he did set that lap. So, okay, Furyian on pole as we expected, but not, I mean, definitely not by a huge margin.
No, it's not impossible for these guys. And of course, Furyian's the one with it all to lose. And we saw this sort of environment play out in the no assists tier earlier on in the week. We had Luke, who had nothing to lose. Or all to lose, sorry, and Gary, who had nothing to lose. And Luke tried to be cautious into turn 1. He had a good grid position. He was starting from the front row. But because he was cautious, he ended up out of the race. So Furyian's got to be careful not to repeat what we've already seen happening.
Yeah, definitely. That's the main plan. And we do, as usual, expect at least one safety car. So even if he breaks away, he can't, be too sure about getting this victory. Everything could definitely change.
Yeah,
who is still out here?
Sorry?
Who is still out on track doing a fast lap?
I believe Bears Willman was still on track, but he's just pitted. I don't know if he was sitting a fast lap, and DJ Mario may be out there still lapping. He's going to enter the pits this time. So a few of the guys were considering fast laps, but decided against it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this should be the time where the track is as hot as it could possibly get, so best time to go for a lap. Could it be possible that Davy Lee is not on a lap? I don't think anyone is on a lap.
No, there was a few guys, I think, who came across the line just in time to start another fast lap, as if a second fast lap in a row. and they tried it, but the tires didn't hold on.
Yeah, and fair enough.
Now, of note, Cosman, fourth in the championship, he's not here. So that's one of Furyian's rivals already gone. Cosman is too far back to be considered in the championship if he didn't close the gap this time out. So Cosman's out of it. So then you're looking towards the other guys who are in fact here. And you've got Danny Lanfear, 45 points back as Furyian's closest rival, realistically. And then you got Charles is 50 points back. Viber and Davey Lee TV, the Renault boys, are both 51 points back. So although it's close behind Furyian, Furyian's pressure has been somewhat lifted by Cosman essentially conceding the championship.
Yeah, which is obviously sad to see, but it is what it is. And I mean, we obviously expect Furyian to run away with this, but I believe Charles Leclerc has been showing, just as Lord Peter Viber has been showing lots of improvements. He's been, if anything, showing even more improvements. So he started off also as a bit of a midfield driver, but he's almost challenging Furyian here. He's so close to him. 1/10 only.
Yeah, he joined the league at the same time Furyian did, missing the opening couple of rounds. But since then, he's been a gradual improvement, that's for sure.
Is he the only guy who calls himself Charles Leclerc in the league, though? Because there's obviously different tiers, and I believe there's at least 2 or 3 people who calls themselves Charles Leclerc.
Yes, there's multiple Charles Leclercs and a Charlie Stupid we have in the Delta Racing.
Yeah, I remember that.
It does make our job a little bit tricky, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, he has a lot of fans. Ever since he started streaming, he has gotten even more fans.
Yeah, and he's a good racer. He keeps it clean. Who's your bet on for the win here today, Edvin?
I'm gonna say Charles Leclerc, because I just have this inkling. You know, whenever you know the weather forecast says it's gonna rain tomorrow, and you're like, nah, I don't buy it. I feel like that, you know. I don't think Furyian's gonna win this time.
Okay.
Maybe I'm actually the only one who's ever felt that.
Yeah. No, I've felt it. I felt it, that's for sure. It's a tricky one. Because Furyian's the guy on a roll. He's entered 3 races.
Come on, man.
And won 3 races.
We got the microphone here. And what could possibly be wrong here? Could it be the session not starting, perhaps?
I'm not sure. I will do a little
that would be so annoying.
Because something is certainly not working, that is for sure.
While we wait, then we could take a look possibly at the driver championship then that we currently have going on right now, with Furyian at the top, obviously ITAC second place, and yeah, there isn't too much going on with that one right now. Obviously, since the race isn't going, we can't really compare it, but still interesting to see. I believe we have some problems with the session right here, so
yeah, I think there's one of the drivers who's got an internet connection that isn't working great, and as such it's delaying the whole lobby, but we should be underway in just a moment.
Yeah, and we go in here.
Look at the rest of the standings, like everyone below Furyian. It's very, very tight. So you got Itax and Alex Pruta, who are both reserve drivers. They've got 44 and 35 points respectively. But then also in 35, you got Cosman, 33 Jedla, and everyone down to Davey Lee is then within the next 10 points. So everyone, I'd say realistically, down to about Bogdan, is in with a chance of pipping second position yet, which is a really, really interesting situation to have, because we were talking about potentially Bogdan and Charles not having anything to lose into turn 1. They actually do, because if they crash out here and say Danny Lanfear picks up a solid P2, then suddenly they might be out of the podium.
Yeah, so we seem to have the session actually up and working right there, which is great, because I thought we were gonna have to do a restart, but luckily for us, none of that, so...
Yeah, we got it all resolved, so nothing to worry about just yet. I did begin to get a little bit concerned, but the drivers are away on their formation laps, which is arguably the hardest lap of the race. Now, I think you'd find it very hard to find a driver who, from a pure stress standpoint, was like, oh no, it's not when the tires are going or when you know you need fastest lap for that extra point. But it's definitely a very difficult lap, at least cognitively, this formation lap, because you've got to warm everything up except the engine. And the engine is the one that wants to warm up. So you're stuck a little bit. You've also got the choice, if you're at the front of the field, as to how quick you want to take the formation lap. Obviously, the quicker you go, the more heat you can put in the tires without weaving and accelerating and braking. But it also means you'll be sat on the grid for longer. And when you're just sat on the grid, the engine heats up and the tires cool down, which is the opposite of where you need to be as such. So it does put you in a tricky spot with what to do. In this case, Furyian's going to go for a particularly quick outlap, and only Charles really is going to stay with him. You've got Bogdan. It's a long way back. And then it's Bloth in the Toro Rosso who's kind of leading up the rest of the gaggle behind him. And it's just going to give Furyian a moment alone, a moment to himself where he's not got cars in his mirrors, where he's not got anybody in front of him, and he's just looking at the track. And he can think about how he wants to start this race. Is he going to cover the inside into Abbey, or is he going to just make sure that he's on the inside for turn 2, which is that long left-hander where you can find a lot of time if you're on the inside compared to the outside. And then into turn 3 as well. Turn 3 is a right-hander, but then the two after it are left. So which side of the track do you want to be on to defend your position through that complex?
So let's hope that everyone, especially Charles Leclerc, has warmed up his tires well here. We do actually see some smoke come out of Furyian's tires. I don't know if that was supposed to be, I hope so. That's really cool.
Yeah, it'll likely be brake temperature brakes that give off that kind of smoke. Of course, they also need to be nice and hot to make sure they are within their operating window. But the drivers are ready. We've got green flags at the back, and the lights will come on. We got 4 lights, 5 red lights at Silverstone. This is the penultimate round. Who's going to get the best getaway? The Renault of Davy Lee TV makes a very, very good start. He's going to challenge the front row of the grid into turn 1, and you'll manage to push wide that Williams and just slot into P4. However, that's Charles. I'm not sure if Charles is actually in the race. There's definitely some amount of ghosting happening there on my screen at least, and we got yellows, but Furyian leads the way. He made a good start from the front, and that's exactly what the rest of the field didn't want to see. He's been dominating these races from the front and just driving away as chaos in the background. That looks about 3 or 4 cars all involved in a huge incident at the back of the pack. I believe that was the Haas of Velocity, McLaren of Dragos, just tons and tons of incidents there as they came onto the Wellington Straight. But Furyian got a good start. However, now he is going to be compromised as the safety car comes out in order to clear that massive incident through the first sector.
Who crashed? It's gonna be the most important question right now. Was it Bloth possibly? John, perhaps?
I do not believe it was Bloth. I think Bloth got unfortunate off of the start, maybe making a bad getaway and getting pushed out wide. Involved in the incident, Velocity and Dragos definitely were rather. And then I think Adira might also have been involved in an initial tap, but got away with it and wasn't spinning around as they came onto the straight.
Okay. Well, that's obviously rough to see an actual safety car come out this early. We'd rather have a virtual safety car, but they should just, you know, be able to resolve this issue quite quickly, as the whole pack is already quite close to each other. This shouldn't take too much time to wait around there. We do see some cars going into the pits though. That's definitely gonna slow some things down, but makes sense to go into the pits right now, especially if you have damage. So
yeah, and Davy Lee TV is going to come in. I don't believe he had front wing damage. He's just going to put a set of the hard tires on, and we did mention that you could get these hard tires to the end of the race, which is potentially what the Renault man's trying.
Definitely might be what he's trying. I feel like the hard tires are too slow if that's not what you're going for. There is not that many laps on this track. Last time, which track did we race on? Do you remember?
It was Canada last time.
Yeah. Isn't there quite a lot more laps on Canada?
Yeah, of course. It's all based upon time and distance. A combination of the two things. It's obviously the race does have a time limit in theory. Now we won't get to that because we're doing 50% races, but in real life that's a consideration. And we then take 50% of that number, and you're looking to base it off of both time and distance, like we said, because that's what the fuel tanks in these cars are built.
Also, even though the races are always about the same length in terms of time, a race is always gonna feel quicker when it's 26 laps compared to like 36 laps, like we saw on Austria.
Yeah, of course. It feels as if you have less time, and in fact, you'll have the same amount of time, but in your head you're going, oh, I've got 3 laps to go instead of, oh, I've got 4 laps to go potentially, and that sort of mental aspect definitely comes into play at times.
Yeah, and that might be why David Lee goes for the hard tires. He believes that, oh, well, 24 laps on hards, man, it's gonna be easy, but it might not be as easy as he thinks it's going to be. Even though I believe he will be able to do it.
Yeah, the other consideration for Davy Lee is that time and time again in this league, we've seen that safety cars breed safety cars. So if another safety car comes out, say a couple of laps after the first one goes in, so you're looking at lap 4 or 5 by that point, then everyone else is likely to put on a set of mediums or hards and try to get to the end 2 at that stage. And Davy Lee will have hards that haven't realistically done any laps, and he'll be at the front of the queue, so potentially making a little bit of a gamble on a second safety car.
Yeah, I would expect that at least. So, we are just waiting for Lord Peter Weiber to catch up here, as it seems like both Renaults were involved in an accident early on, because they both pitted, so...
I don't think they were involved in an incident, because I didn't notice any damage on Davy Lee. I didn't manage to check Weiber before he entered the pits, but I think this is more a strategy from the Renault guys. Weiber was already further down the grid than he would want to have been, so just put on a fresh set of softs and really try and blitz through the traffic. And then Davy Lee TV is doing the exact opposite. He's not trying to overtake anybody on track. He's just trying to keep the gap to the leaders down within 1 pit stop.
So, I'm not even gonna front here. Do you see a zero on the scoreboard?
I do see Adira. Adira is
Where?
running around in 16th position.
Yeah, okay. Mine only goes to 15. So,
Yes.
one of those classic F1 glitches that should hopefully all be gone in F1 2020. How many people is it in the session for you?
Sorry?
How many people is in the session for you?
We have 19
Okay,
racers here today.
I see 15 of them. But I mean, I guess the last 4 won't be as important as
Yeah, of course.
top 50. The only problem is if the last 4 move up in the top 10, then it's gonna look weird.
Well, there's a chance that it's just cutting it as to 15 cars in the race. So when they move up, I'll be sure to keep us updated either way. And the safety cars just updated us as well. It will be coming in this time around. So Furyian, he becomes the pace car. He gets to choose what speed they complete the rest of this lap at. And he's choosing slow to be that speed. He's just going to back everybody up. And he can weave, he can keep his tires up. But everyone else has to be on the ball. Because if he gets away for even a couple tenths of a second, then he could be gone into the distance. And there he's gone, just before Vale chicane. And he's made a very, very solid break for it. He was up about 7 tenths, but he got a little bit sideways on the exit as he came in towards Club. So that Charles has brought that down. It's about half a second as the leaders come into turn 1. Danny Lanfear potentially going for a move on his teammate, who was under a tenth away. Not quite close enough, however. And Furyian gets a clean run through the loop. Now he's got to try and break that DRS, so get that gap up to over 1 second as pronto as he can.
Bear Wilsman for some reason going into the pit here after the safety car lap is done. I don't really know what's up with that, but maybe got some damage during the safety car lap, perhaps?
I believe he was involved in some sort of collision, so it would seem likely that he picked up a little bit of front wing damage in that one. But looking at the guys who are currently circulating out on track, Furyian's trying to make a getaway, but he's not managing to break Charles. Now, Charles goes deep. He won't be able to do that too many times, else he will pick up a time penalty, but you'll get away with it twice. It's the third one that will give you that penalty for multiple warnings.
Yeah,
but crucially, he's only half a second away. If you can stay half a second away, then you will be right there come the DRS. And he was, in fact, faster than Furyian through the middle sector. So he's right on the tail Bogdan's a little bit further back. They're just beginning to drop the third position runner. And there's a difference in strategy here. You know, Charles has got one of two options. He can either choose to just stay behind Furyian, make sure he's there, and just get away from P3, or he can really hassle Furyian because he's worried that overall throughout the race, the McLaren driver will be quicker.
Yeah, he's the only McLaren driver here right now, though, unless there's someone under P15, so that's going to be my question.
is his teammate, lapping in 18th position at the moment. The missing car is the second racing point. Titan Taylor is without teammate this time around, and Titan Taylor is in fact coming under a lot of pressure from John. Of course, no DRS this time around, but the Red Bull might not need as he gets down the inside into turn 6. He'll run deep, almost a MotoGP style block pass, and it's going to compromise him. Bloth, the Toro Rosso, that's Italian for Red Bull, trying to get around the Austrian Red Bull team, but he's not quite there, and he's in fact going to come under threat from his teammate as this becomes a four-way battle for 8. John down the inside into Woodcut, not quite going to get it done as the Racing Point keeps it, hangs it out to dry. That'll give him the inside for Maggots, and they'll have to file in, and they just about do without any sort of collisions, but they'll be right with each other as they come onto this back straight.
Oh no, Titan Taylor is out, isn't he?
Yeah, Titan
almost,
Taylor plummets down the order. I'm not sure what he got wrong there. I didn't even see it, if I'm honest. Camera angle cut away from him. He must have got a kick of oversteer through that section. I didn't see any contact, that's for sure. And we'll have DRS enabled this time round, and John will not be happy about that one, because not only is Bloth within the DRS range, Handicap's within the DRS range of Bloth, and also within a second of John. So John has got a team behind him, and these two, Bloth and Handy, very much do act as a team.
Yeah, let's just hope that we won't have any team accidents. We have had quite a few of those in previous races, and it always hurts a little bit extra to see two teammates crashing.
Yeah, of course, but of all the teams, I would expect Bloth and Handy to get away with it as Bomba picks up a 10-second time penalty. But John got a very, very good run onto the Wellington Straight, and that's just about going to hold him as they come in towards Luffield.
Yeah, so far it's looking like Handicap has a higher chance of catching up to Bloth than Bloth has to catching up to Jan.
Yeah, and just ahead of these guys, DJ Mario is piling on the pressure to the silver arrow of Vlad Red. He was 2 tenths back. He's lost a little bit of time through Woodcut, and then they come through this Maggots Beckett's Chapel complex, and the Alpha manages to stay there in the dirt here, which is very, very impressive, and he'll have the DRS up the hangar straight. Will he be close enough into Stowe? You can definitely try on the brakes, and he's going to. That's the red of Alpha up the inside of Mercedes, and it was perfect from Alfa Romeo. What a neat and tidy move that was. And he's confident on the brakes into the chicane, and he'll hold that position because there's no DRS now until the Wellington Straight again, so he should be able to get away because he looked a lot quicker behind that Mercedes.
You could tell as well that Vlad Red did not want a collision right there. He gave DJ Mario a lot of space, which is something we always like to see.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, I believe Vlad is in fact a reserve driver, whilst DJ Mario races in this league. So a little bit of respect being given there from Vlad, which we do like to see. But crucially, he's not being dropped. In that slipstream, he stayed right there. He's alongside before the DRS is even open. And that'll give him the move before the brake is on the Alpha. He's got to be careful he doesn't outbrake himself through turn 6. And he doesn't, he'll get the inside then for turn number 7. That was a very, very tidy move from the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, definitely. So this might be one of those situations where they will be able to change position every turn, or every straight rather, because they will be so close to each other come the next straight that they will just change position.
Yeah, and all this fighting is ideal for John, Bloth and Handy, who are closing this duo in all the time. Soon we'll be in a 5-way battle instead of just a duel, but at the moment it's still a duel. DJ Mario with another incredible exit, but this time the Mercedes puts the Alfa Romeo on the outside, so DJ is going to have to be so brave as he runs it round the outside at Stowe. What a splendid maneuver that is. He'll have the inside into the chicane, the Mercedes sticks his nose in, but there's no overtake available there, and the Alfa leads once more.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we might see a lot of this, but not for too much longer maybe, because John has caught up massively towards Vlad Red. He was, whoa, okay. He was about a second off, but now he's a tenth off.
Yeah, John is now right there. And the gap from John to Vlad is the same as the gap from John to Handy, which is John to Bloth, sorry, which is then the same from Bloth to Handy. So this is very much a five-way battle for 5th position now. You've got the rest of the top 10 fighting for the top 5.
Yeah. It's definitely close down there, and it's also very, very close in P3. Bogdan is closing up to Charles Leclerc quite massively.
Yeah, Furyian's managed to make a getaway, which is, of course, what we anticipated, but what the drivers did not want to see. And as Charles is backed off, potentially using his tyres up a little bit too much in the wake of Furyian and trying to stay with him, and Bogdan, he's there, he's waiting, he's ready to punish that decision from Charles, closing it all the time.
Why do we have a virtual safety car? Oh no, Bloth!
Bloth's off! Bloth, he's got it wrong through Woodcut. And this is going to cause a huge flurry of pit stops. I'm not sure what happened there. Danny Lanfear, of note, is right on the back of the handicap, so potentially the pressure being applied from Handy, Bloth's teammate. Virtual safety car in, and just as Vlad Red enters the pits. So Vlad Red went for a strategy gamble, and the gamble's not going to pay off as he gets stuck in the pits. Furyian and Bogdan also doing the same thing.
This could be interesting.
They're going to get caught out here a little bit potentially too, as the rest of the field streams by. Those guys who didn't pit, they're going to be in front. And I think with the pace Furyian has, he'll catch him before they need to pit.
I mean, pitting to mediums from soft after 8 laps, perhaps not the ideal thing you want to do unless you have a virtual safety car to pit under, which they didn't, so that's definitely caught them off a little bit and could make this a whole lot more interesting.
Yeah,
as John is brave. DJ Murray is having none of it, almost takes John out. He's trying it in every corner, John, right now. Just can't get it done.
Yeah, it was very, very ambitious from John. He definitely feels he's got the pace. He's just able to hold a tighter line through turn 1 as they come in. Sorry, that's not turn 1. As they come into Maggots Beckett's now. He's just going to have to file in behind. Barrows Wilsman picks up a penalty, most likely for running deep at that place we pointed out earlier. But John then gets a good exit onto the hangar straight. DRS pops open. DJ Murray's not going to fight too hard. He doesn't cover the inside. He maybe knows that John is very quick, and he's just going to take his racing line all the time.
Yeah, that was clean from John. He tried it for quite a while, finally gets it done. Impressive to see though how much quicker he was than DJ Mario, even though he's on the medium tires. We will most likely see him lead for a couple of laps here, considering DJ Mario, Viver and Loa Knights has to pit all of them.
Yeah, of course. And Mario, in fact, is very, very close to John as they come into this first complex, this loop that was added during that period in 2009, 2010. I've got a fun fact for you guys regarding that. Silverstone has hosted the British Grand Prix constantly since the late 1980s. Now, I believe it's 86, but I would not quote me on that. But of note, it wasn't supposed to hold the British Grand Prix in 2010. This was when they were having the renovation works done to the track to add that additional loop that is now the first sector. And the race, the Grand Prix, was in fact supposed to go to Donington Park, which of course is a classic Formula 1 and British racing venue. In the end, a deal couldn't be found between the then F1 owners and Donington. And in fact, the race came to Silverstone. But Silverstone itself wasn't yet completed, so they had to use the track you see today, but with the old pitch straight and without some of the grandstands because they hadn't been built yet. It was very much a shove it together and hope it works race as DJ Mario comes into the pits on lap 10 of 26.
So we saw Handicap retire in the qualifying, but now we see Bloth retire in the race, and that means that Handicap has the whole team, the whole team's points on his shoulders here, and he's doing a good job. So far, P4, as Furyian says, the fastest lap.
Yeah, and This is going to be big for Toro Rosso because, like we said, they are in that fight, but they could have had way more points than they do. In the past 2 races, they've only had one of their cars finish in the points, and this will be a 3rd one to add to that streak. So when you do that, it's so hard to compete for the Constructors title.
Yeah, it's definitely not gonna be easy. Something that is easy though is apparently the overtake from Bogdan here onto Charles Leclerc. We saw he was struggling with that before, but now that he has the better tires, he seems to have it easy.
Yeah, so Bogdan pitted. He went on to the medium compound of tyre, whereas Charles put on the hard compound. So this battle should in fact ebb and flow just a little bit, and it's going to be a tricky one tactically because Charles knows at this stage of the race he's not going to be quicker. But come those last 7-8 laps, he will be much quicker than Bogdan will be on the mediums, you would expect. So it may yet come to him.
Yes, but Charles Leclerc, when he pitted, did you think that the mediums wouldn't last? Because I feel like you wouldn't go on the hards otherwise. Or perhaps he just knows that he would be unbelievably quicker than Bogdan during the last few laps. Because he has to make the move during the last few laps. That's the only time he's gonna be quicker.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of concern. We saw how much he dropped away from Furyian and how much quicker Bogdan was than Charles at the end of the first stint. And Charles could not afford to let that happen again, else he would definitely finish behind Bogdan. So this leaves him with a different strategy whereby it's exceptionally unlikely that his tires go off. And he can just push, try and stay with Bogdan all the time and hope that the race comes towards him instead of it leaving him and going towards Bogdan.
Last race we saw Lord Peter Weiber going very long compared to the other drivers on the soft tires. I believe it was him at least. It was a few other people as well, but it was mainly him who went for quite the few laps on the soft tires, and he seems to be doing the exact same strategy here again.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for him last time out. He finished in P2, so...
Yeah. So, I mean, I expect it to work out for him again, but he started quite far back. He started P9, I believe, so already made up 9 positions. Not bad at all. Handicap is closing in on Davey Elite TV though. On old mediums, well, not that old, but definitely older than Davey Lee's hards. Still faster though, as he gets the move done here. Almost, maybe not quite. Yeah, he gets it done.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt here as well, but Charles is challenging Bogdan. He's on the outside of Bog into Vale. That'll give him the inside on exit. And there's a little bit of tire brushing, shades of what happened between Charles and Max Verstappen in 2019. He's going to have the lead into turn 1, but the Alpha's already alongside and will have the superior grip at turn 1, and he'll reclaim the lead. But the Ferrari's so brave on the brakes. Just sends it down the inside into turn 3. Here's the loop. The Ferrari will try the cutback. Alpha doesn't leave it though. He's wily as Bogdan, and he's aware of it, but it doesn't matter because Charles is just getting the power down so strongly out of these stop-go slow corners. He'll swing it around the outside at turn 6. That gives him the inside for Luffield, and he'll have the move done for now. But this looks like a battle that is going to rage on and on throughout this one.
And I mean, this is not what they want, because that's just gonna allow Furyian to move away even further up the grid from them.
Yeah, it's tricky. I think you can make a reasonable assumption that they don't care where Furyian is. If you look at the lead he has with 2 races to go, he's likely got to crash out here for them to have a chance. In the incidents where he doesn't crash out, these two are fighting in the championship, so they'll just make sure that they are fighting each other. And if Furyian crashes, then thank you very much, that's pretty handy.
Yeah, it's not looking like he's gonna crash anytime soon though, as he closes in ever so much on John here. John, his tires they're getting a bit old. Furyian's are brand new and heated up and ready to go here, so we're definitely looking for an overtake on John here quite soon from the man himself.
Yeah, and I think these guys are all being backed up a little bit. You've got Handy leading the way on 13 lap old tires, and Davies and Johns are much the same, and they're all just stalling each other a little bit, and this is the worst possible situation for Furyian at this stage in the race. He pitted under that virtual safety car, and he did get some of the pit stop completed. He got his entry to the pits done under a virtual safety car, which will have gained him a little bit of time. But now he's losing all that time and more as he gets stuck behind these guys who are on very, very old rubber.
Yeah, but he should be able to get past. Oh, there he goes. Or does he? No, not quite. Maybe he just wants to chill there, play it cool until they pit, because he knows that they will do so quite soon.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation for Furyian. At the moment, he's not losing too much time to Charles and Bogdan, because those guys are still dueling it out for P5 at the moment. That'll be P2 on the road once the guys ahead have pitted. So for Furyian, he's not losing time to the team behind him. The guys in front of him are still fighting as Davey Lee TV tries to regain the position on John on the brakes, and he manages that. And with you guys dueling so hard, it is not worth sticking your nose in and having them slice across the front of it in defense of somebody else.
It's weird though, because Bogdan, he just can't seem to get past Charles Leclerc. He should be on the faster tires here, but not even on the straight. He seems to be able to get past.
We'll ride on board with Bog here. As he dives to the inside, it'll put him to the outside, but he's sold a brilliant dummy. But Charles, again, is just so strong on the brakes. He's really got his eye and his mind tuned in to where you can brake for that corner. And time again, he's been able to outbrake Bogdan, regardless of the rubber they've been on.
Yeah, John here is closing up as well. The whole pack in the top 3, which isn't actually the top 3, is super close to each other, but the real top 3 is the people in 4, 5 and 6, and they're also quite close, but not as close as Furyian is to John right now. But I don't think he's gonna go for it. I don't think that he thinks that it's worth it.
Yeah, but now this is beginning to cost Furyian. The gap at this point last lap over the cars behind was 4.6. It's now 3.8. So that's come down by 0.8 of a second over the course of a lap. If Furyian stays stuck behind these guys, because we know this group may be going very, very long, especially Davey Lee on that hard set, he could well have his entire race compromised, because the guys behind are coming.
They have gained a second ever since we last talked about it, so the fighting that they have been doing have costed Furyian more than it's costed them. Oh, handicap into pit, right?
John makes a mistake there. He went for a move on the brakes. Davey Lee TV just said, no thank you, and just took his racing line. That resulted in John making a little bit of contact, and somehow he managed to save that car from going round. I'm not entirely sure how. And whereas you might have seen a driver racing for position dive down the inside there, Furyian just stepped on the brake pedal and made sure that he got nowhere near that out of control Red Bull.
He's very, very consistent. Oh, what's this? John is gonna get past Davey Lee TV.
Yeah, well, this time round, gets it done with the help of the DRS, but can Davey Lee fight back? Those mediums are 15 laps old, so you'll be beginning to slip and slide a little bit, and the hard tire, they've probably been slipping and sliding this whole time, but Davey Lee will definitely be used to it as such.
Yeah, so John right now has to pit in a few laps. He has the oldest tires on the grid, but at least he gets to smell the P1 air. The air that everyone wants to smell, and the air that Furyian has smelled the most.
Yeah, and that Red Bull is looking very, very frisky as Bogdan picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That's not gone well, and I believe Charles must have made a mistake at some point whilst we're doing that, because he's suddenly 8 seconds off the back of Bog. So
yeah, and Johan has got them past.
Yeah, and now John dives into the pits. This is so John will wait and see where he comes out, but this pack in front of Furyian just slowly disappearing. Viber has come in, now John has come in, and now it's just Davey Lee TV at the front of it.
Should be easy pickings here for Furyian. Either he waits or he should be able to get the move done quite quickly here. Davey Lee's tires, they are starting to go. Well, not really, but compared to Furyian's, they're just not as quick.
Yeah, of course, but the tricky thing about the Silverstone circuit is it lends itself to overtaking, but it often needs to be a brave overtake as he goes down the inside into turn 6, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's always an opportunity to fight back for the car behind as Davey Lee closes in towards Luffield. He'll try and get the best possible exit onto the old pit straight. They'll cut across that runoff area as they come down towards this original turn 1 corner at Cops. They curve through it, and Davy Lee still there. He's still within that DRS zone, and Furyian will need to make sure he's got enough of the gap that they're not fighting into Stowe.
Yeah, definitely not, but Furyian should be able to pull away here. He definitely has been quicker for just about the whole race, and we can see as well, if we look at his wheel, he has saved up quite a bit of ERS, so he definitely is looking like he's in a golden position right now. Not Charles Leclerc though, he crashed or something, got behind Bogdan and picked up a penalty now, so things are not looking too great for him.
Yeah, it would seem like Charles, I believe it would have been at least a half spin, potentially a full spin, obviously we didn't see it. But that is what an 8-second gap seems to me. He won't have hit the wall because he hasn't come in, but some sort of error that is resulting in his car pointing the wrong way.
Yeah, and right now Lord Peter Viber and DJ Mario is battling it out here, and I believe DJ Mario just got past Lord Peter Viber up into P8. He has been going for some quite aggressive moves for the whole race here, but that's what you have to do on this track.
Yeah, Mario is definitely one of the fan favourites, not only because of his name, but also because of that flamboyant driving style on Davy Lee TV. Just too flamboyant there, you could argue. Went straight into the back of the Alpha. He's lost the left-hand side of that front wing as a result, and, well, that's game over, that is, really. Davy Lee TV, he'll potentially try a move with the help of the DRS, but he simply won't be able to, and he can't turn in. He bounces off of DJ Mario. Mario will not be happy about any of this. He made an aggressive but clean move a couple corners previously, and then Davy Lee TV has made contact with him twice in as many sections of this lap.
Yeah, I must say though, I think it's fine because Davy Lee is the one with damage and DJ Mario doesn't, so he's gonna be able to get that overtake for free quite soon.
Yeah, but all this is backing DJ Mario into handicap. Handicap's on that soft compounder rubber. He's only 3/10, even less now. He's alongside. There's contact between Handicap and Mario. Mario went for some... Sorry. Handicap went for something as they exited the Maggots Beckett's Chapel complex.
That's his wing gone as well. If you look at... Oh well, obviously we get a view of his right wing just because of that, but his left wing is missing a red piece and has to dive into the pits.
Yeah,
that might be the dreams of points gone for the Toro Rosso team for tonight.
Yeah, it was awkward for Handy. He closed up so much for that famous complex, and then as they exited it through Chapel, the guys in front almost brake-checked him with how slow they were.
That's DJ Mario's wing gone as well. You can see right there, it's missing the upper piece there on the left side, just like Handicap did, and he dived into the pits. DJ Mario is in points. I don't think he's gonna pit there. There's only 7 laps left.
Yeah, it depends how much time he thinks he's going to end up losing, but at the moment he's still fighting with John as they come into Luffield, so I reckon he can probably stay out. The guys behind him have all pitted, and he's got 32 seconds over Viber, so he should be able to hold on to a P9 here.
Yeah, I believe he will. I mean, 34 seconds. If he pits, I just don't see it happening. Surely not, right? You don't pit there. You just, you know, race on. You should be fine. Just have to watch the turning a bit, because you can definitely spin out if you know, when your wing is broken, you're gonna have a bit of understeer, so you're gonna try to turn a lot to compensate for it, and if you turn too much, you will spin out, so has to be careful with that.
Consideration for DJ is that he's got 33, almost 34 seconds over the cars behind, and that is a pit stop. This is a short pit stop because although the pit lane itself is long, you don't have to do this whole Vale Club section. So you really don't lose that much time going into the pits. So he could, in theory, get in and out, but he's going to decide against that.
I must say, the man to watch right now should be Bogdan as he closes in on Davy Lee TV. Obviously, right now, I'd say that their tires are pretty much on equal grounds. 11 lap old mediums versus 18 lap old hards. And he's closing. 4 tenths, just like that. 5 tenths now. He's closing in on Davy Lee.
This is Davy Lee's strategy. Remember, he pitted early under that safety car period for the hard set of tires upon which he is driving. And he was banking on track position. Furyian managed to get past him. And he held up the rest of the pack. Some of the guys closed up onto him, but they didn't manage to get by. And now, this is what it was all playing towards. Can he hold off Bogdan? Their tires will
closing
both
so
be
much.
feeling unideal at this stage, inimedeal, but it's not impossible. And this is for P2. These guys are very, very close in the championship too. Davy Lee TV has 24 points, and I believe Bog has 15. So come the end of the championship in just 2 races time, or 1 race after this one, these guys will be competing.
Yeah, most certainly. And Bogdan right now is just looking like the quicker car. He is gaining but then losing, but whenever he gains more than he loses. Oh, what's that? Jon, fastest lap, gonna steal that from Furyian. Don't think Furyian cares too much, but still. Bogdan gets past as well, just like that. No trouble, no nothing, just get past on the straights. So
Yeah,
that's gonna be him up into P2.
That was a very, very easy move, but we've seen this before. When you make that move, you can very easily lose it again because you've got this whole section after Luffield. You can slipstream all the way down into Maggots and Beckett's, and then you'll lose a little bit of time through Maggots and Beckett's, but then you get to open the DRS, so you won't actually lose that much time through this third of the lap.
Yeah, I mean, Davy Lee, he's definitely losing more than
yeah,
he's gaining
as I say
on
that,
Bogdan.
Davy Lee drops back about half a second, which doesn't do great for my credibility, but I assure you it is possible to hold in. Davy Lee potentially just not got the pace of Bogdan, and that is what we saw in qualifying, to be fair.
The hards, just maybe not quick enough, perhaps.
Yeah, potentially not, but it's Furyian who's leading the way, and if he finishes anywhere near this far ahead, he will win the championship end off. So Furyian's doing everything he needs to do. He's got 4.3 seconds over Bog and Davy Lee, as Charles now sits the fastest lap on the hard tires. That hard tire is definitely functioning. But yeah.
Okay, so what is the top 10 for you? Just so we can confirm that we have the same top 10.
We got Furyian lapping at the top of the time screens. Then you got Bogdan in P2. Davy Lee TV is third. You got the guy whose name I can't pronounce, Lionites.
I think it's an I, so Johannites, I think.
It's definitely not a J. It might be an I.
No, an I. I mean an I, which
I.
I think you pronounce like a J, perhaps.
Right, we'll go with that for now. Johannites in P4 for Williams. Charles is 5th for Ferrari. Danny Lanfear, the second of Williams, is 6th position. Vlad Red for the Silver Arrows is 7th. Then you got John, DJ Mario, and Lord P the Viper.
Okay, so we have the same top 10. That's always nice to see.
Yeah, of course we have had technical difficulties, and we do have.
What does this mean for the Constructors' Championship then? McLaren obviously number 1 with Ferrari number 2 and Mercedes number 3, but I mean it's looking like to me like Alfa Romeo is gonna move up and Furyian and his McLaren team is gonna stay at the top.
Yeah, I will run some maths for you just now. The question is, does this gain McLaren the Constructors' title? That's what we're looking at, and it'll be close to it, that is for sure. Everybody below McLaren needs to close the gap in this race. There's going to be 42 points available next time out, and McLaren have a 42-point gap over Ferrari, 49 over Mercedes, 52, and so on to Racing Point and below. So if McLaren can outscore Ferrari, which currently they are doing, then they will take Ferrari out of the championship guaranteed. The next team to look at is Mercedes, and they're also outscoring Mercedes. So Mercedes only have one car in the top 10. Then you've got to consider Racing Point. Racing Point aren't going to score at all here. Handicap
might be able to score.
Circulating. Sorry?
He might be able to score. He's closing in on Lord Peter Weiberg.
Yeah, he's getting there, but he'll need to close in on McLaren, and he's not going to outscore the McLaren guys.
Yeah, definitely not, but at least he might get a point for the team.
Yeah, he might manage it, and that does keep them in the fight with the guys around them. Then you look at Alfa, they're still technically in that fight. Alfa Romeo, they got Bogdan in P2, DJ Mario in 9th, but I don't think that will close it in anywhere near enough. In fact, McLaren will continue to gap them if that is how it all finishes up. And then Renault as well, they will be gapped in the standings should it finish like this. And then the final guys still within a chance coming to this race were Williams. Now, Williams will be scoring. Let me just do a little bit of adding for you guys. Williams will score 20 points this time, which does mean that McLaren will outscore them, and Furyian will be able to claim both the drivers' and constructors' titles this time out. Everybody else has only got 2.5 laps left to stop him.
Oh, handicap is a penalty. That might ruin it all. As we see a car going slow there. I believe that's Bear Wilsman getting lapped.
Yeah, Bear Wilsman just being very, very polite. He's in 14th and is almost a minute off the next car, so just being nice, and he's served his penalties staying out the way. But handicap, as you mentioned, potentially got the penalty as he was pushing behind Renault, and we've seen this time and time again from the Toro Rosso guys. They struggle to overtake on track. They get the strategy right, and they manage to get out an acceptable qualifying performance for what tyres they're running on. Relatively consistency, but it comes the race, and they find the battles difficult, is how I would describe it.
Yeah, Vlad Red is catching up on John as well here, so we might have some last lap position changes here. I will struggle with that word for some reason. I do not think the handicap is gonna be able to do it though. The penalty might ruin it for him completely.
Yeah, handicap, he'll potentially get by on track, but gapping the Viper by 3 seconds is going to be tricky. As Furyian picks up the fastest lap of the race, just to add insult to injury to the guys behind. He's done that on 16-lap-old mediums, which is a very, very impressive time.
I would like to see handicap get past on track though. Just to show that he can, but I don't think it's gonna matter. But still want to see it. Vlad Red is not catching up to John anymore. He's fallen off about 6/10 as soon as I mentioned it, so...
Yeah, Vlad potentially making a little bit of a mistake there. Or the opposite, John making a mistake when Vlad managed to close that gap. But handicap definitely still closing the gap. Viper is going to be forced to go defensive. Handicap follows him to the inside of the track. And then the Renault opens up the door, tried to take the racing line, didn't realize that Toro Rosso was still there, just lurking on the inside on the entrance to Stowe. He'll have the move done into Vale. No fight back from the Renault. And now handicap has to really, really push. Viber also has 5-lap-old softs on. These guys are on tyres that are the same age, so Handy will need to find 2.5 seconds in exactly 2 laps if he wants that 1 point for 10th position.
Yeah, and it's definitely looking like the handicap right now, he might not be able to pull off by 3 seconds, but he's definitely pulling away.
Yeah, he's got the gap up to 0.6 of a second, but that's not going to be enough because it comes down again during the DRS zone. And if he can't get it out of that DRS by the next straight, then I think he'll be in danger.
Yes, so unless Lord Peter Viber has penalty, he should be the one claiming that point. As Furyian has crossed the line going on to the last lap of the race here, leading quite comfortably. Shouldn't be any problems, just gonna finish this last lap and he will take home the championship guaranteed, I believe.
Yes, of course. He should be in good stead. He just needs to keep it on the road. This is turn number 7.
Oh, Lord Peter Viber gets a 3-second penalty.
So that gives handicap P10. That's absolutely massive. Handy was beginning to gap Viber, had it up to 1.1 seconds, and then Viber potentially pushing a little bit too hard, trying to stay with the Toro Rosso. But Furyian, he's past the original start-finish straight. That's turn 9, so he's only got 9 corners left as he comes through Maggots, and then Beckett, and then round through Chapel. This is where handicap made contact and ended up in the wall for a moment. No such unluck for Furyian as he heads towards Stowe. Brakes relatively comfortably. Bogdan is closing him in. Furyian is cruising on this lap. He doesn't want to get it wrong. It's been a magnificent race for Furyian. He hit pole once again. He's won the previous 3. He'll make it 4 out of 4 entries, and that will give Furyian the championship for the first ever edition of Tier 4 here at Delta Motor Racing. What a performance from Furyian. He has dominated this league since he entered it for that Russian round at Sochi. And
Charles Leclerc gets the fastest lap.
Pinches fastest lap at the death, but that will not matter to Furyian. He's claimed the driver's title, and I believe that will also hand McLaren the constructor's title. So a huge, huge evening here for McLaren and Furyian. Congratulations to those guys. Bogdan put up a decent fight. He got the gap down for a little bit in that final lap. And that will be big for Bog, because that will put him right there in the fight for P2 in the championship, which is wide open. So don't think about not joining us this time next week too.
Yeah, obviously it won't matter for the win of the championship, but P2, there's still some honor in that as well.
Yeah, there certainly is. And of course, these guys will be looking to promotion to upper tiers as well.
Furyian should definitely get one, let's be honest here. I mean, 4 wins in a row, that's really gotta be a tier 2 or tier 3 promotion for him. No questions asked.
Okay, I'm lining up some interviews, but Edvin, give us a little talk through who is your driver of the day.
So, you would say Furyian, right? Like, obviously clinical as always, but we don't need to say Furyian because he's always the driver of the day. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Bogdan, because he was in a lot more fights. He always came out on top in the end of every single fight that he had. He made it clean and consistent, except for the 2 penalties, but other than that, I definitely think Bogdan had an amazing race this evening. And he is, I don't really know where he is on the driver standing, but he's quite far up there, and this is definitely gonna give him a boost to get even further up.
Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties with the interviews once again, so I'll run this by some guys. If you can just fill in with some race review.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot more to say about the race. I'm gonna take a look here if I can see perhaps the standings here for myself and see. So obviously Furyian winning quite dominantly the whole league.
Yeah, and that will give him around 100 points.
When did Bogdan join?
Sorry?
When did Bogdan join?
It's an interesting one. So I believe Bog has only raced in 1 race as Bogdan, according to this.
But he races Bog once.
But as far as I'm aware, he may also have raced earlier on in the league, which is an interesting one. So we'll wait and see how that plays up. We'll definitely get it cleared up. Who are you banking on for the rest of this championship?
So I'm gonna go and say Bogdan for sure. I can't quite see where he is on. Yeah, oh, okay, I see it now. P16 with 15 points, and he got 18 right here, so that's gonna put him up into P6 in the championship, unless Daniel Landford got points. I didn't quite catch that, so I think that if it continues like this, he's gonna finish P2 in the championship, without a doubt.
Yeah, Bogdan, a good run of form, that is for sure. He's got to watch out, though. Danny Lanfield, Charles, Viber, they're all right there. Davey Lee TV as well. So
wait, Charles as well. Charles didn't get quite as many points, but he's still up there ahead of Bogdan, so it all relies on the next race between those two, I believe.
Yeah, of course. Now,
yeah.
For reference, I don't think we're going to manage to get interviews this time around, but we will see what we can do with regards to getting them in at the beginning of the next race for you. Get you a champions interview as such once it is all very, very confirmed. But as it stands, this has been round 6 of 7. Thank you very, very much as ever, Edvin.
Yeah, thank you too.
Thank you very, very much to Furyian for being such a good racer, and of course to all the other races as well. And thank you to you guys for tuning in and listening. I've been Tom Davis, that has been Edvin, and we will see you on Monday at 7 p.m. BST, 8 p.m. CEST over on twitch.tv/Delta Motor Racing for the finale of the no assists here